What's up, beautiful people? Welcome to my YouTube channel. If you're a returning subscriber, what's good? If you're new, I'm Nadia and this is Castle Chaps, where we talk all things home to interior design and everything in between. Today I'm going to be talking about 5 interior design trends that I think are going to look dated sooner than later. And this is a bit risky because, this is me predicting trends, and I have to say this, that it is in my humble opinion, and if it doesn't sit well with you, I am very happy to hear your opinion as well in the comment section down below. And without further ado, let's get right into it. 1. Fluted cabinets. I love the fluted texture. I think it is genius. I think it adds interest on furniture, and I think it's marvelous. But I have to say, I think it is being overdone. I recently saw an entire kitchen full of cabinets on one wall, done in fluted texture with fluted glass, and I just thought to myself, that's a lot of fluting going around, right? I think that the fluted texture is amazing, and I think furniture designers are really like, where can we add more fluted texture? Fluted cabinets, fluted glass, fluted side table, fluted coffee table. I mean, we did see a lot of DIYs for fluted side tables as well in the last years and months, and I think that was all genius and okay, but I have to say it is too much. Now, here why I think that fluted furniture or fluted texture is not going to last. Firstly, people are looking for more sustainable methods of acquiring their furniture. People are opting for vintage and antique pieces. And because in the past there really wasn't any fluted texture on furniture, I really think for this reason it will slowly ebb out as people go more sustainable. And because there aren't any vintage pieces with fluting, then it might die down because of that. The second reason that I think that it will die down is because it was really fueled fast furniture manufacturers like IKEA, like Zara, like H&M. I think I've seen some setups that they really had with beautiful furniture, which was amazing. But then the problem with IKEA furniture or with H&M furniture, whilst it is beautiful, is that it is not long lasting and it is fast furniture. So I think this point belongs with the first, really, that because of the move of more sustainable pieces, fluted furniture isn't really retro, so out it will go. I think that it has to be done in moderation, and I have seen, for example, a red table which was fluted. And I think that's too much, right? You either do red table or you do fluted table, but the two of them together might be pushing it too much, because you have introduced a very vivid color with a very noticeable texture, and whilst that's okay in the moment, I'm not too sure you're gonna love that table 10 years from now. And the last reason why I think fluted texture might not last is because of what I've seen that happens to textures that I used extremely in the past. Think of popcorn ceilings. Everyone who has a new home with the popcorn ceiling is sure to rip it out, because that thing will definitely look ugly and will look 80s, and it surely belongs there. So I think whilst fluted texture is beautiful, it has to be done in moderation, and popcorn ceilings just didn't do it, right? Done in the bedroom, in the bathroom, in the living room, all over, and in the end people just prefer simple, clean silhouettes. And I think this is going to be the case with fluted stuff, that people are really going to opt for simple, minimal silhouettes that are straightforward. But if you really beg to differ with me and you really love them, I would say go for it, make yourself happy. My only piece of advice to you would be that, for example, if you want to use them as a cabinet front in the kitchen, instead of pairing them with fluted glass, then maybe you want to go for simple glass or really like plain glass together with some fluted cabinet fronts, or some plain cabinet fronts together with fluted glass. I think that is decent, and I think it's a good mixture and a good way to, get the best out of both worlds, and then to balance it out and make sure that your style is always timeless. 2. Limewash. I know you have seen beautiful pictures and instances where Limewash was really used well, and it must have taken your breath away, because it did mine. And I think, to be honest, Limewash is beautiful, right? But I think it depends on how you use it and how you apply it to your own situation. The reason why I think that it will date soon is because of the context within which it is being used. Sometimes you really have to be aware of the architectural details or the architectural background that your space is coming from before you choose what interior design you want to use in it, right? So with this in mind, it's not all of us who are living in beautiful villas with beautiful windows, those large, beautiful windows, perhaps which are covering the most of the wall with a beautiful view outside, with beautiful organic curves. And, that's this Spanish style life. It's not all of us who have that kind of apartment or that kind of house. And so Limewash would really fit to Spanish Revival or to the Mediterranean style or somewhere in the south of Spain, in the south of France, where it goes with that aesthetic. But for most of us, Limewash doesn't really add much to our space. And I think the worst case scenario is when Limewash is paired with very bright colors, and then in the end it's something greasy, almost dizzying to you, because you can really see the texture on the wall if it is especially a bright color. Now, if you beg to differ with me, I also understand, because it is beautiful, and I would urge you to maybe consider using the neutral version of it, meaning colors like white, the beige, the grays, something more neutral, which will work in almost any space. The other reason why I think Limewash is not timeless is because, again, as I alluded to earlier with the popcorn ceilings, I would like to remind you of the terrazzo wall, right? Almost everyone on YouTube had a terrazzo wall at some point. We all painted these funny little patterns on the walls, and it looked beautiful at that time. It added texture, playfulness, and it was really a quick and easy DIY. But I will have to tell you that the amount of creators that have painted over that terrazzo are incredibly unbelievable, because it had its time, it was nice in the moment, but over the long run it was just too busy and it's not sustainable. So likewise, Limewash is nice in the moment, is nice when it's done right, but overall, do you really want to do your space like that? Maybe not. I think there are other ways of adding texture in your space which are a bit more timeless and also easy to the eye. Think of things like a rug, pillow, all of these things, blankets, throws. All of these elements can really add interest and movement and texture into your space, but without going all the way out. In general, I would like to really caution people when you're about to make a bold move with the structural elements to a building or to an apartment, because these changes are hard to reverse and they're the most noticeable and usually the most untimeless, the ones that really date a lot and look ugly. So Limewash, whilst it's beautiful, I think if you really want to save on the coins, or if you just want something that will be easy for you, then just go simple. I think sometimes less is more, if not most times, and it will always win in the end. Next, let's talk about open shelving. First things first, I think open shelving is a brilliant idea. In fact, it is used to add warmth in kitchens, especially if you use those nice rich wooden tones. It will really add warmth into the space. It can also highlight the horizontal, especially if it is made across the room. So overall, I think open shelving is beautiful. And not only that, it's accessible, right? Instead of for you to be ravaging through the doors and through, all your cabinets looking for something which is hard to find, I think it is a genius idea, for example, in Airbnbs, where you can already see, here is the wine glass I'm looking for, because you're not so familiar with the space, so it would be difficult for you to look for what you need. That being said, and that being out of the way, now let us really break it down and bring out the tea on open shelving. If we're being honest, between you and me, we will both admit that open shelving really have an interesting way of ending up with clutter on them, right? I know my open shelves to be carriers of everything, from things that belong in my handbag, things that belong in the bedroom, things that belong elsewhere but the kitchen, have landed in the kitchen because Well, it's an open shelf, it has storage, and anyone and anything can just be thrown there and forgotten about, right? So it is easy to attract clutter. Anything that doesn't have a proper place in your home is going to somehow land on that open shelf. So whilst I love them, I think they are great also for displaying what you're collecting, for showing your personal style, for showing off your family heirlooms. I think for the majority of us, we should just stay away from open shelves. Let's say you're super organized, you're that 1% that we all aren't. You have your things going, you're on the top of your game. Think about all the dust that will land on that open shelf. Think about all the things and the particles in the air that you might not see that would definitely go on your things on the open shelf. So I really have to say that open shelves are beautiful, but not made for most of us. Sculptural furniture. I have seen some of the most amazing and genius forms of furniture out there that my mind cares to believe possible, and I think it is just perfection. I mean, look at this chair, look at how different it is and how interesting it is. But at the same time, I would like to caution that this needs to be done in moderation. That when they opt for sculptural furniture, they really use a lot of it within their spaces. I think it's okay to use 1 or 2 pieces within a space or within a room. For example, if it's in the living room, you can opt to have a side table paired with some beautiful accent chairs that are sculptural, but really having everything being sculptural might be going overboard. And I think it's not going to be timeless because it's just not practical. Look at this chair, it looks like it could break, it looks fragile. But when done modestly, I think sculptural furniture can work wonders in your space. Imagine if you had a rectangular rug, a rectangular sofa, a rectangular coffee table, a rectangular TV console. It would be a lot, right? But all of a sudden, if you took out the rectangular sofa and you replaced it with something more sculptural, more playful, everything looks good, everything looks inviting and warm, and all those lines and edges are broken up, and you all of a sudden have interest in the space, right? So I think sculptural furniture have that role to play in interior design, but not really to be the all and above of interior design. A clever way to use a sculptural piece would be to use it as a focal point, right? If you have your beautiful space, your sofa could then be the focal point of the room, which will ground everything and really sort of give your eye that first landing space and that impression. And I think that way it will look good. The other reason why these pieces of furniture might not be for everyone also is because of the type of houses we live. It's not everyone that's going to have 3-meter high ceilings that can accommodate some of these big and funny shaped pieces. It's not going to be practical in every space, and you really have to think about your space before you rush out and buy the next piece of sculptural furniture that you find. Mirrored elements in the kitchen. I have to admit, I only thought of one thing when I saw this trend, and that is Arabian Nights, right? With all this glitz and glamour. I think it's a bit over the top, especially if it is used as cabinet fronts in the kitchen. Imagine the amount of cabinets that we have in the kitchen, and then all of those cabinets being furnished by mirror. It's a lot. I think it has to be done in moderation, if at all. I think mirrored furniture is tolerable in other situations. I'm personally not a fan of it, but in the kitchen, it certainly doesn't belong there. Think about all the grease, the oil, the fingerprints when people are opening and closing those doors. It is highly unpractical. Think of all the humidity in the kitchen. Like, what would you be thinking to fill your entire kitchen with mirrors? I understand that interior designers like to push some things sometimes, especially when they have a client who claims to have a no-limit budget, and they really think about, creative ways of taking things up a notch. But I think there are tasteful ways that you can really introduce personality into a space, but at the same time be practical. There is nothing evil in itself with mirrors. In fact, I think a space is incomplete with a mirror. Think about a living room, right? A mirror would play a good role there because it can bounce back light and make it feel lighter. But I think in the kitchen, it is not great there. Because of this ongoing philosophy that the kitchen is now the center of the home and in a way is the extension to the living room, having mirrors all over will really make the kitchen a restless place. It's a place where you don't feel settled. Have you ever been in a changing room with all the mirrors, or in an elevator with a lot of mirrors? You don't feel settled. You see your reflection, and overall the experience is not so comfortable. So why would you want to recreate such a feeling in your kitchen? Overall, these are the 5 top interior design trends that I really think that we should distance ourselves from. I'm curious to know which one you enjoyed, and where you beg to differ, I would also like to know. So let's get it going in the comment section. Until the next one.